5 drunk bikers surrounded a young black college student at a lonely gas station, shouting slurs and threats. What they didn't know? He'd trained for moments like this. The sun hung low over Yuma, Arizona, scorching the pavement like molten syrup. Late afternoon, but the heat still clawed at triple digits. Elijah McCall felt it burning through the steering wheel of his 2010 Honda Accord as he pulled off the highway. His gas gauge hovered near empty. He'd been stretching the last fumes for miles. The next station wasn't just a pit stop, it was survival. He turned into a crumbling shell station, stranded alone off Interstate 8. No other buildings in sight, just a tilted sign, 4 pumps, and a dingy convenience store with a flickering open sign. The place looked frozen in the 90s, but it had gas. That was enough. Elijah parked at pump 2, killed the engine, and stepped out. Sweat glued his shirt to his back the second his boots hit the pavement. Still in his marine training gear, black compression shirt, khaki shorts, a beat-up cap twisted backward, he grabbed his wallet, swiped his card, and started fueling up. At first glance, Elijah wasn't remarkable. Lean, 6'1", calm brown eyes, a quiet way of moving, but if you watched closer, you'd notice how he scanned a room without seeming to, how his body stayed loose but ready. His drill instructors used to say, "You carry the quiet that roars when it matters." As the tank filled, he glanced at the store. Inside, a middle-aged woman, probably the owner, lingered behind the counter, eyes glued to her phone. A white guy in earbuds dug through the drink cooler, too distracted to notice anything else. Elijah barely registered them. He was exhausted, up since 5 a.m., finished with reserve drills, now 3 hours into the drive back to Tempe. All he wanted was a cold drink and a snack to tide him over. After pumping gas, he headed inside, grabbed water, a protein bar, and trail mix. No one spoke. The clerk avoided eye contact, mumbling when he paid. Elijah kept his voice easy, took his change, and left. Back at his car, he leaned against the door, gulped the water, and let the heat press down on him. Cicadas buzzed. A semi-truck groaned on the highway. Normal, predictable, then engines. The rough growl of motorcycles closing fast. Elijah turned just enough to track the sound. Not worried, just aware. 5 bikes swarmed the lot like they owned it. Loud pipes, ripped denim, heavy boots. They parked crooked across 2 pumps, engines still snarling. Their laughter cut through the air, sharper than the exhaust. Elijah didn't move, just sipped his water, eyes shadowed by his cap. One of the bikers, tall, red-bearded, mirrored sunglasses, stared at Elijah a second too long. Then he elbowed the guy next to him. Something in the air shifted. Elijah had faced real danger before. This question mark. This was just noise. The gas station lot, empty moments ago, now felt crowded. The bikers hadn't parked. They'd taken over. 5 men, each roughened by sun, beer, and bad choices. Chain wallets, boots scuffed from bar floors, not work sites. One wore a sleeveless vest with a faded Confederate flag. Another flashed skull rings on both hands. Their bikes weren't shiny showpieces. They were loud, dirty, built to intimidate. They didn't acknowledge the clerk when they stomped inside. One kicked the door open like he owned the place. The door slammed against the wall. The woman behind the counter flinched but stayed silent. Elijah leaned against his car, unfazed. 4 years in the Corps, 2 rotations in Okinawa, he'd learned to let petty provocations slide. He'd been in rooms where people muttered worse behind his back. Most weren't stupid enough to say it to his face. But he knew body language. Redbeard was searching for a reaction, an excuse, anything. Elijah gave him nothing. He sipped his water, tore open the trail mix, and tossed a handful into his mouth like the bikers were background static. The men lumbered back out, cracking open tallboys before their boots even hit the pavement. Redbeard's gaze locked onto Elijah. No more glances. "You lost or what?" he called, loud enough to echo. Elijah didn't answer. He glanced at the highway, calculating 30 seconds to get back on the road. Redbeard stepped off the curb, slow and deliberate. His buddies snickered. Just filling up, Elijah said, calm. Headed back to school. The stocky one, crooked teeth, smirk like a broken fence, chimed in. What kind of school lets in people like you? The words hung ugly and blunt. Elijah took another sip of water. His silence wasn't fear, it was control. He'd seen Marines blow their careers over less. He wouldn't be one of them. The bikers mistook it for weakness. Cat got your tongue? Redbeard jeered. Or you one of them quiet types? Elijah finally looked up. Just trying to get to Tempe. Redbeard squinted. Tempe, huh? Bet you're one of those college boys. Whole world handed to you, right? The others fanned out now, not charging, but closing in. A couple, in a pickup across the lot, watched, windows up, engine running. The clerk clutched her phone, not dialing, just frozen. The youngest biker, early 30s, hung back. His eyes darted between Elijah and Redbeard, uneasy. Redbeard jabbed a finger at the Marine Corps tattoo on Elijah's forearm. That real, or you just got it for clout? Elijah didn't blink. Did my time, still do. For a split second, Redbeard faltered, but ego's a hell of a drug, and these men were overdosing. Stocky guy smirked. Marine, huh? Think that makes you special? Didn't say that. Didn't have to. They were too close now. Elijah straightened, set his water bottle on the hood, and kept his voice low. Look, I don't want trouble, you've had your fun. I'd like to leave. Redbeard grinned. Or what? Elijah met his stare, dead calm. Or you'll find out I'm not the one. But Redbeard wasn't used to being told no, and some men only learn the hard way. The heat pressed down, but Elijah barely felt it. His focus narrowed to Redbeard, 2 steps away, and the others circling like vultures. Hands hovered near belts, not quite touching weapons, but close enough. The clerk white-knuckled her phone. The pickup couple stared straight ahead, ready to flee. Elijah had trained for worse. The memory hit him like a rifle crack. Camp Pendleton, his drill instructor's voice barking. You'll be outnumbered, you'll be targeted, and if your mouth writes a check your hands can't cash, you're going home with more than bruises. But this wasn't about bruises, it was about disrespect, the kind that cuts deep before fists ever fly. Redbeard's voice dropped lower, tighter. You think that little Marine tattoo scares us? No, Elijah said. I think you should walk away because I'm giving you the chance to... The youngest biker, chain dangling from his jeans, flinched. His eyes darted to Elijah's stance, weight slightly forward, hands loose, elbows relaxed, not scared. Ready? Redbeard didn't notice, or didn't care. He stepped closer, close enough to smell the stale beer on his breath. Let me guess, black belt too, huh? Elijah stayed silent. Sometimes silence cuts sharper than words. Then the line crossed. Redbeard reached out, slow and mocking, and swatted Elijah's cap off his head. It hit the pavement with a soft thwap. Elijah didn't move. Not yet. But something in his eyes shifted, like a safety clicking off. Redbeard laughed. Ain't so tough without your hat, huh? One of the others sneered. He ain't gonna do shit. Just another college boy playing soldier. Elijah bent down, picked up his cap, dusted it off, stood up slow. You get one, he said, firm, final. The youngest biker backed up. Rick, man, maybe we... But Rick, Redbeard, was past listening. He shoved Elijah hard in the chest. What you gonna do, boy? That word, that tone. Ugly, casual, like it had worked before. Elijah locked eyes with him. I'm not your boy. Rick grinned wider. Oh, now you get serious? The stocky one circled behind Elijah, trying to flank him. Elijah tracked him without turning his head. Muscle memory. He'd mapped rooms like this in the barracks, in combat zones. But this wasn't war, this was a gas station in broad daylight, where everyone watched and no one acted. The clerk looked away through the glass. Elijah's hands stayed loose. But inside, calculating. Distance, balance, leverage. Training doesn't vanish when the uniform comes off. Rick shoved him again, harder. 2 hands to the chest, enough to knock most men back. Elijah didn't move. Rick blinked. Just for a second. Surprise? Then it happened. Elijah didn't strike first. That mattered. But when Rick's hand came up again, Elijah moved. One hooked arm, a twist, a pivot. Suddenly Rick was off balance. Elijah behind him, arm locked around his neck, elbow tight. No drama, no flair, just efficiency. Rick's feet scrambled. The others froze. Stocky guy lunged. Elijah dropped Rick, sidestepped, and used the biker's own momentum. Shoulder turn, leg sweep, crack. Second man down, ribs hitting concrete. The third raised a fist, then hesitated. Elijah's calm stare scared him more than any rage. "You sure?" Elijah asked. The fist lowered. "Back up," Elijah said. "All of you." Now. Rick wheezed on the ground, face purple. Stocky guy groaned, clutching his side. The youngest biker stammered. "We didn't mean—" Elijah pointed to the road. "Go, before you make it worse." They hauled Rick up. No pride left, just shame. No more words. Just silence. The bikers shuffled back to their motorcycles. Their swagger gone. Rick limped, leaning on the same guy he'd mocked earlier for being weak. The couple in the truck still watched, frozen. The clerk now held her phone to her ear, maybe actually calling the cops this time, maybe still just pretending. Elijah stepped to his car, his pulse steady, but his body humming with adrenaline. He opened the door, set his water on the roof, and leaned against the frame. He wasn't running. He'd done nothing wrong. The bikers revved their engines pointlessly, all show now. Their energy had shifted from aggression to retreat. Rick shouted something, but the threat was hollow. Whatever lesson he'd meant to teach had backfired. Then, red and blue lights flashed at the end of the road. The sirens were faint at first, nearly drowned out by the bikes. But as the patrol SUV rolled into the lot, kicking up dust, everything slowed. The bikers exchanged glances, suddenly realizing they weren't in control anymore. The deputy stepped out, hand resting near his sidearm, mid-50s, lean, with the stiff walk of a man who'd worn that belt too long. His eyes swept the scene. Elijah by his car, arms crossed. The bikers, 2 still mounted, 1 clutching his ribs, Rick swaying on his feet. "Everybody freeze," the deputy ordered, his voice cutting through the heat. The clerk edged outside. "I called. I wasn't sure." "Good thing you did," the deputy said. "Ma'am, stay back for now." Rick found his voice. "He attacked us. We were just minding our business." The deputy didn't react. He studied Elijah, then turned back to Rick. "All 5 of you were minding your business, and 2 ended up on the ground. He ambushed us." Another biker lied. "I have cameras," the clerk said quickly. "Inside and out." Rick's face twitched. Elijah stepped forward, calm. "They followed me, surrounded me, shoved me. I warned them twice. Then he put hands on me." "You hurt?" the deputy asked. "Number?" "I defended myself." The clerk nodded. He didn't start it. Didn't even raise his voice. The pickup truck's door finally creaked open. The driver spoke up. "We saw it." He stayed calm. Those guys were pushing him, calling him names I won't repeat. He warned them. They escalated. The deputy sighed, eyeing the biker, clutching his ribs. "You need medical?" The man shook his head, though his grimace said otherwise. Elijah watched it all with detachment, like he'd seen this play before, where the truth didn't always win unless witnesses spoke up. The deputy approached Elijah. "Name?" "Elijah McCall." The deputy paused. "Same McCall who served with Anthony Vasquez in Okinawa?" Elijah blinked. "Yeah. We were in the same unit. But that's my cousin," the deputy said, the ghost of a smile appearing. Said you made him look lazy. Elijah almost grinned. The deputy turned serious again. You did good, kept control. That's not easy. Rick muttered something. The deputy shot him a look. I ought to haul you all in for public intoxication, harassment, maybe assault. You got lucky, picked the wrong guy. Rick started to argue, but the youngest biker grabbed his arm. Rick, let's go. The deputy waved them off. Leave. If I see you again today, I won't be nice. The bikers didn't protest. They helped Rick onto his Harley, his curses lacking their earlier bite. They rode out slower than they'd arrived. As the dust settled, the onlookers had to face what they hadn't done when it mattered. The deputy's SUV still idled near the pumps when a second cruiser pulled in, this one driven by a woman in her late 30s, uniform crisp, gaze sharper. She assessed the scene in seconds. The older deputy nodded. We're good, got the story. Cameras back it up. She eyed Elijah. You McCall? Yeah. She approached, measured. You all right? I'm good. Oh, Deputy Lena Graves, she said, extending her hand. Saw your name pop up on dispatch. Recognized it. Elijah frowned. From where? You're my brother, she said. Luke Graves. He trained with you at Pendleton 3 years ago, Deputy Graves said. Sparred during combatives. Said you were the first guy to tap him out without breaking a sweat. Elijah's expression softened. Luke. Yeah, I remember him. Told me if he ever needed backup and couldn't reach the core, you were the next best thing. Double asterisk. She chuckled quietly, then turned serious. You handled this, right? Kept you cool. Some guys come home from service and forget how to dial it back. You stayed sharp. Had practice, Elijah said. Graves glanced toward the gas station, where the clerk still watched nervously through the glass. She's got everything on tape. Once we pull the footage, there'll be a record, just in case. Need a statement? Wouldn't hurt, she said. Stopped by the station this week. But from what I saw and what those cameras caught, you're not the one with a problem. Elijah nodded. Appreciate that. The older deputy ambled over, toothpick bobbing between his teeth. Most folks freeze when 5 guys corner 'em. You knew when to wait and when to move. That's rare. I didn't want to fight, Elijah said. But you knew how to finish one. There's a difference. From the edge of the lot, the pickup truck's doors finally creaked open. The man approached, hesitant. Oh, should have stepped in sooner, just didn't know how bad it'd get. Elijah held his gaze, not angry, just waiting. You handled yourself better than I would have, the man mumbled. Just wanted to say, I respect that. A nod, that was enough. The clerk edged outside, arms crossed like armor. I'm sorry, should have called right away. Didn't want to make it worse. You didn't, Elijah said. They did. Graves eyed them both. We'll file the report, but this won't go far. Those guys won't press charges, not with video proof. They'll vanish. The older deputy grinned. Cowards always do. Elijah exhaled slowly. The weight in his shoulders didn't lift, just shifted. Not relief. Just done. I should go, he said. Take care of yourself, Graves replied. Next time you're in Yuma, stop by. Luke's back next month. He'd want to see you. I'll do that. Back in his car, engine humming, Elijah watched the sun stretch long shadows across the lot. The tension had bled out, but something lingered. Not anger, not fear, just the quiet truth of how fast a normal day could tilt sideways. As he merged onto the highway, the silence behind him spoke louder than any apology. The road unfurled, flat, endless, the kind where tire noise fades into white noise. Elijah cracked the window, let the desert air rush in. It didn't cool him, just gave his mind an anchor. He'd handled it right. But the biker's stares, like he was less, like he should have folded, dug deeper than their shoves. And the worst part, the watchers, the clerk, the couple, the earbud guy, people who'd call themselves good, but stayed silent until after. He wasn't mad, just clear-eyed. 15 miles later, Elijah pulled into a shaded rest area, just a concrete bench and vending machines humming under the sun, no one around. He sat, checked his phone. Mom, coming home for Labor Day? Unit group. Chat. Memes. Inside jokes. He replied, then pocketed the phone and let the quiet wrap around him. A hawk circled overhead, riding thermals in that hard, desert blue, unique to the southwest. Elijah watched it, motionless. He wasn't one to talk about these things, not even in the Corps. But today he might tell his teammates, maybe his little cousin in Phoenix, who always asked, "What's being a Marine like?" Because this wasn't about fists, it was about controlled 2D presence. Knowing who you are when others try to erase you. By the time Elijah reached Tempe, the sun had dipped behind the mountains. He parked, listening to dorm laughter and blasting music, life, oblivious. The strangest part, how the world kept spinning after something so ugly. Back at that gas station, stories would twist, the bikers would lie, claim they were jumped. The clerk, the couple, maybe they'd speak up next time. Elijah grabbed his duffel. He wasn't out to change the world, but he knew this. When you stand firm with grace, when you hold the line without losing yourself, people remember. So next time a Rick tests the wrong stranger, maybe a watcher will recall the day silence equaled permission, and choose, to stay quiet. Strength lives in silence. But power? Power is choosing when to speak. Standing up doesn't always mean throwing hands. Sometimes it's holding firm when no one else will. If this story resonated with you, share it, talk about it, and next time you see wrong being done, don't wait for an Elijah to clean it up. Speak, step up, be the voice.